I'm not going to stand here and tell you that Starbucks itself is going to solve centuries-old problem of racism in America. But I am going to tell you that we're going to try and demonstrate a level of respect, of leadership and concern that we can make a difference.
You order a cup of coffee from a major purveyor of the overpriced bean drippings, and you see the words "race together" on the side of the cup. Do you immediately, A, pull out your running shoes and begin to sprint down the counter line, or B, engage in a discussion about the current state of race relations in America? The wisdom of this concept is at the core of our discussion. Always a pleasure then to welcome back into MidPoint, president of the M Network Branding and Strategy, who, for point of note, did not bring coffee for everybody today, only for himself. Thomas Mozloom joins us here on the set. Let me know when you're done. Really, I'll wait. I got time.
I got to get caffeinated to talk about this subject.
Quick, let me see if I can sign the side of it here. Because you do it. By the way, does this have race together?
It does. I wrote race together on this so I could be in the mood.
Wonderful. Very nice to see you. Caught that moment.
There you go. We'll
where is
it?
it?
In the middle.
There it is. I have to show you here while we're here. There it is. Look at this. Mozloom writes "race together" on his cup.
Yeah.
Why could you write it? You can't even see it.
Look, I even autographed it for you, though.
Oh, thank you very much.
Stay on your desk forever with the other coffee mugs.
I got plenty of time then to go ahead and do that. You don't need that now. Wait a minute. So let's get serious here. Is this, well, we don't even necessarily have to. Was this a good idea? Because I don't know why, but when I first heard that, all I can see is somebody coming to the counter and a barista going, "So, how do you feel about race in America?" I can see fights starting from that more than anything else.
This is a good idea until somebody gets shot in a Starbucks, and then it's not a good idea. Listen, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're thinking that you're going to make a difference in racial relations throughout the United States by having people who can afford to drink a $5 latte gather together in one place.
At $5.
Right, and those are the people who are going to gather together and solve this problem, which is a pretty homogenous group. This isn't the kind of people, it's not like you're going to have voices across a wide swath of opinions talking about this. But if you're trying to create a long-term strategy whereby your brand becomes a voice in virtually every social or political issue, well, this is a pretty good place to start. If you're thinking that maybe 18 months from now, 12 months from now, you're going to start the Starbucks community poll, just in time for the presidential election.
Which he could be because
Mr. Schultz, are you
very
listening
political.
to me? Howard, listen to me. This is free advice, buddy. You got to take this one, okay?
But that would make a lot of sense then, setting himself up for some sort of a political backing, if you will, because they're very political to begin with themselves, just at the corporate level. Yes.
Starbucks as coffee kings and now Starbucks as kingmakers. Now it makes more sense. We'll see what happens if they double down on this, if they continue the race talk. I mean, maybe they talk about nukes in Iran. Maybe they talk about some other subject. Maybe they talk, I mean, he came out when Congress shut down, right? So this looks a lot to me like a long-term strategy that the audience just isn't aware of, that they just think it's a right-now strategy.
But are they then hitting the right audience? If you do, because let's be very honest here. You're talking about an audience, basically at Starbucks, it gentrifies a lot of neighborhoods when they move in. It's an older, it also is a whiter people who also have it. Let's be real honest here. It seems as if they're trying to aim to the older white demographic and get them to start talking about race. But shouldn't they be asking everybody to talk about
No,
race?
this is the Lexus liberal, and they don't care if they talk about race at all. They just want them talking about politics and associate Starbucks with political action and issue advocacy. Starbucks grows up around areas that gentrify. They are a fuel for gentrification. If you're
an older demographic moving into a neighborhood.
If you're rich and white, gentrification is the term you use for good housing prices. But if you're poor and minority, gentrification is the same as displacement. You better move. If a Starbucks opens up in your neighborhood and you're poor and ethnic, you got about 18 months before you have to move out.
Then this whole message is completely the opposite then of what Starbucks usually stands for.
This is exactly the backlash. This is why the backlash is coming, because of the economic demographics of the people who patron Starbucks and the economic impact on poor neighborhoods that Starbucks has, and you're walking in saying, let's talk about poor ethnic minorities. That's the backlash. But it's a short-term risk. The next news cycle is going to spin next week, and we're not going to talk about Starbucks. We're going to talk about something else. But if they continually stick their nose in to political and social issues over the course of the next, say, 2 years, you'll have some followers, you'll have some people who say no, but you're going to start building that brand as being the kind of organization that speaks into American society, and there'll be a player in local elections. There'll be a player at, PTAs. There'll be a player in your community at the issue advocacy level.
But let me ask you then, from the marketing savvy side that you have, including with the coffee that you bring in here today, is this about, in your opinion, actually making a difference in a social arena, or is this about selling coffee?
That's a really good question, and you're asking me to doubt the sincerity of Howard Schultz. And not knowing the man, I'm loath to make those types of judgments.
Okay, but it's possible.
However, it is more than likely that he's trying to do both. I mean, let's talk about race. Let's talk about how we could mend these fences, and let's have a 2-for-1 stock split on the same day.
Answer the question right there. It's pretty easy.
Actions speak louder than words. I think Howard Schultz thinks he's doing both. I think he's naive. I think he's misguided in this volley if he thinks this is going to solve race. But we'll see.
Is he in some ways here just opening the door to something that could be, and I mentioned this as we started, but something dangerous?
Yes.
When you get people talking about race, that's gasoline on a fire in many cases.
Oh, it's deeper than that. It's not just people talking about race. It's when corporations place themselves in the middle of issue advocacy and political issues. When corporations start taking sides, then you're going down a steep, slippery slope. The race issue, yeah, listen, that is a hot button controversial thing for people to be talking about. Should we be talking about it? Yes. Yes, we should be talking about why 25% of white kids will grow up in a single parent family, but 67% of black kids will. We should have that conversation.
But talk about it in a Starbucks at the cash register.
Not with the barista. We shouldn't be having that conversation with the barista.
No offense, but I've actually found some baristas who could barely put 3 words together in a sentence, so I have to be concerned sometimes.
But they make a great latte.
By the way, here, okay, you didn't bring a latte, you didn't bring one for everybody. Thanks so much. We really appreciate your concern. Yeah, you're all out of time now. Even
Jealousy,
with the caffeine.
Jealousy is such an ugly emotion, Ed.
Right, okay, but don't worry about it. I'm good at it.
Oh, the spit take.
First time you make a blues. Very good. It's always nice to have that. You get the coffee in the nose, it works.
It's
Thom
awesome.
Mozloom, M Network Branding and Strategy. He'll recover. We'll be right back.